Hey up everybody, and welcome back. Well, bits and pieces have arrived, so we're going to do the exhausts on this. So what has come? Well, my nice stainless steel tube, 1.5 inch diameter, 90-degree mandrel bends, 45-degree mandrel bends, shorter 45s, long 45. I've actually got a few more of these ordered, but that's alright. They should be here today or tomorrow. What I've also got, what have I done with it? Oh, there it is. Hold on a second. Now then, chaps, does that take you back or what? No self-respecting teenager with a bike didn't have these on. So, we're going to put these on. Now, my plan for the exhaust, I'm going to show you a diagram in a minute, is, or my plan to actually fabricate them to make it easier, I think, is I'm going to make the mountings to put this on where I want it. And then I'm going to make this part, because that's relatively simple, come out, go down to about here. And with that on, I'm going to make this part with its bends to get it down. So basically what we'll be left with is a piece missing out of there. So when that's all on solid and this is all on solid, we can cut our piece, put it in there, tack it, and it's done. So first of all, let me show you a picture of the standard exhaust, and then we'll talk about how we're going to fit this one. Now this is the standard exhaust. As you can see, you have one down the outside. The centre one comes down and joins into that in a collection box, which was made out of sheet metal. And then the third cylinder went down the other side, and that had a pipe coming across and joining in. Actually, it was just behind this collection box. So we're going to do a slight variation on that. Let me pull you back slightly so you can see my drawing. What we're going to do is we're going to have the one on the left hand side come down and go to the silencer, and then we're going to have the one on the right hand side come down, go to the silencer, and then the centre one's going to come down and come over and join in with that. This little bit is going to be the awkward part because of the frame tubes, which are here and here, and the sump, which is here and sticks down more than this side. So the actual joint here might be a little bit further up, might be further down. It just depends on how we can fit that in. So what we're going to do is make the two outside ones first, because once I've made one outside one, I can use that as a pattern to make the other one. And when they're on, we'll come down the center and see where and how we're going to be able to connect into this. So we're going to have a 2 into 1 and a 1 into 1. That balance our pipes up. So first thing we'll do is mount the silencers. Now the silencers came with a chromed mounting strip with one 5/16 bolt in it, and was weird. See, it's got the slot here. Well, the 5/16, which fits in, there's a wider section at the end, it fits in, but it just spins. Once you've got that in there, slid into that part, it should be captured so that you can just put your nut on, but it isn't. So I tried a 3/8, 3/8 won't go in, tried 8mm, tried 10mm, no idea what was supposed to be happening. So what I did was, I measured the depth of this here and the width, and I made up a piece like that, drilled and tapped it, that slides in there, and now the bolts will just screw straight in. So that's, and these match up with the mounting. So the other thing was, I didn't just want one of these like that. I wanted a firm mounting. I wanted it mounted 2 holes there, pardon me, and 2 holes on the actual silencer. Now, I also made up the mounting for the rear brake switch. Made out 2 pieces, little bit of bronze. Actually, this is TIG bronze. I got some silicon bronze TIG rods, and I've been playing around with that. So I thought that was a good excuse to do that. I can't decide with this whether to paint it or maybe nickel plate it. I think it might look nice nickel plated because we've got some polished alloy here for it to go with. So anyway, that goes on there like that. So the next thing I made was, let's see, a bracket to go there for the silencer as well. So that bracket goes on like thus. They're 3/8 holes. That goes on there like that. And a longer one for here to go through that. Holds that on. That's made to go across there so that it pulls nicely against a stop. So that goes on there like that. Then we've got our 5/16 bolts, and they should go on there because the wires are in the way now. Goes on there like this. That should line up with the other hole, which it does. That goes on there like that. So we'll tighten that up so it doesn't wobble and see where the end comes out. So I've got the silencer on tightly now, and what we're going to do here is cut a straight piece of pipe to fit in there, and then probably something like that and that to bring it about right for underneath the engine. And then obviously a straight piece, but as I say, we'll do that straight piece last. We'll use this frame rail as a sort of guide. We'll make this up so that it's difficult to show you this without getting in the way, so that we know the tube's going to be at whatever point, say level with half that tube, and then when we do the front end we'll do exactly the same. We'll get it so we're coming out basically level, and then we can just measure a piece and cut it and stick it in there. So let's have a look at the front, because there's some work to do on that as well. Now then, at the front we're going to come out, all three pipes are going to come out the same, come down here and then go under. Now the pipe on the right and the pipe on the left will be identical until we get where the centre pipe meets the one on the right. Now can't go straight in. What I need is about 1.5 inches. So I've just taped, actually it was a piece of solid which was just right. So that's going to go on like that. And then that's going to go down there, and we'll do our bends like that. Now I have one problem in this piece here, that when I put that on, because I can't come out too far because of the mud guard, that is just in the way. So what I'm going to do here is just with a smooth curve scallop a piece out, put a piece of plate in. Now this is not as important now as it was with the Commando. You remember with the Commando engine, the engine is hung in the frame. It's fastened on a rubber at the front, it's fastened at the top, and it's fastened at the back. So these two frame tubes had nothing to stop any stresses from parting them or bringing them together. But here we've got the engine bolted in. We've got it bolted in at the back and at the front. So this piece is almost redundant, but it's nice to have it in to keep the frame sort of stiff enough when the engine's out. But I can certainly cut a piece out of there to let that tube go down without it being any problem at all. Now the other thing is the way that these go into the head. Now the hole in the head is 1 3/4. The exhaust pipe is 1.5 inches. So what happens is, see how that goes on like that? This will have a lip on it, which it's only 1/8 inch, but it takes the 1.5 to 1 3/4. And then you have these collars. So you have the little lip, the collar goes on, 2 of them of course, 2 of them, there we go. The collars go on, they butt up against that lip, and then this piece slides on and they go into there, and that squashes the whole thing up. So what we need to do is we need to put a lip on this. Tell you what, I'm going to have a look at that on the camera and maybe do it again showing you it close up. Yeah, that looked fine, but I can show you one extra thing. The beauty of this system is that you don't have to be able to slide this up the tube. In other words, you don't have to put that on and, as we're doing here with welded up tubes, then make it all up. Because of the way these go on. See, they come off in 2 pieces. So you can slide that on there because that is 1 3/4 inches, and the collar is going to be 1 3/4 inches. So it'll actually go, sorry, the lip. So it'll actually go over the lip. Then you can put them on and tighten this up. So we need to make a lip. And my first thought, of course, was, oh, easy. I'll get a piece of tube that's 1.5 ID on 1 3/4 OD, and then just cut, I don't know, a 1/4 inch piece and weld it on. Well, I looked and looked, and I couldn't really find a piece of tube that would work. I couldn't find a piece where the wall thickness was right, so that I could say get it 1.5 ID and then turn it down maybe to 1 3/4, or find one that was 1 3/4 but with less than 1.5 inch hole that I could bore out to fit that. It was strange. I looked at tube, I looked at pipe, you know, the different schedules of pipe and all sorts. So what we're going to have to do is make one. So I've got some stainless steel plate. It's 304, which is the same as the pipes. I thought I'll do this because, you know, I bought myself the plasma cutter. So I've got a piece of aluminium here. I'm going to turn this down till it's what is it? It's going to be 1.5, because I think the plasma cutter, the actual nozzle is 1/8 of an inch from the outside of the nozzle to the actual flame. So you can see it's got a hole in. We'll drill a corresponding hole here. We'll bolt that to it, and then we'll take the plasma cutter and zoom round and cut that out. Then with that hole, we'll use that with a mandrel, which basically is just going to be a bolt, put it in the lathe and turn that to a perfect 1 3/4. Then we'll take the mandrel out, put the nice 1 3/4 piece back into the lathe, and then we can drill and then bore 1.5, so I can make it a really good fit on that to help with the welding. And then we'll put it on, we'll put a little chamfer on this, and I'll weld it in on this side here on the inside, so that there's a nice flat edge for that to butt up against, and also I can just ease that smooth with a file for pressing up against the gasket inside the exhaust port. So I've got to make up another bracket for the other silencer and bolt that on, so that's easily done because I've got one. I can use that as a template. Then I've got to cut 3 1.5 inch straight pieces and make our lip, weld our lip onto them, and then we'll start welding this up. We'll weld a 1.5 inch piece to that, we'll put it in, bolt it up, see how long a straight piece we need to put on, and then start looking at the bends at the bottom. So first and foremost, let's get the plasma cutter and everything out, and we'll make our lips. Now I've marked up my stainless steel and drilled 3 holes in it, and I've made a piece that will bolt on there. You notice it's not the piece I was going to use, which was thicker, because I realised that the tip of this, if I'd used the thick one, I'd have been rubbing up against this top collar and it would have been miles out. So that just goes on there, and now with this tip on, which you can put right down on the work, I can just follow that around and cut out my 1 3/4. So let's do that. Right, let's give this a go. I've got my helmet set too dark, I can't see a bloody thing. Obviously didn't get that quite right, but there's the bit done. First one. Well, I couldn't see a thing there, so I'm trying with my welding goggles for the second one. Well, that seemed to go better. So let's try one of these in the lathe. Alright, so who noticed the deliberate mistake? I cut the piece of the branch off I had the lathe leaning against. So let's finish this one. There we go. That's more like it. I just thought I would show you how clean a cut you can get with this when you do it right. You can see the nice curve there, and I hope this all stays in focus. But that's much better. My first attempts were a bit ragged, but certainly if you use a guide, and don't forget this is 3/16 stainless. You can imagine how long that would have taken me with a hacksaw or a cutting disc or what have you. So glad I bought this thing. Let's get to the lathe. Right, the next stage is to mount it on an arbor, which is basically the bolt I use to bolt the guide onto it, and just clean this edge up. Take a tiny little bit more off. I don't want to make it any smaller because it should be, hang about not that, Michael, that one. Oh yeah, we can take a bit more off. It's got to be just a nice close fit on that. So let's take a bit more off. I'll even let you watch. Oh, good. I'm pleased with that actually. It means I measured it big enough to be able to cut this rough off, because I've still got a little bit on there. So let me finish this off and I'll show you it's done. Now I've mounted it in the chuck so we can get on the inside of it. I've used, I think it was a 1-inch drill, which is the biggest one I've got, to make a starting hole. Now finally we'll bore it out to the 1.5 inches. So I'll just keep going with this till I've done this one, and then I'll do 2 more. So that's got it bored out, and here's the first of the 1.5 inch tubes that I've cut, and that's a nice fit in there. So all I'm going to do now is put a little chamfer on that, so that when this is pushed through, that'll be the outside, I can weld into that. So let me do that, and then we can actually start some welding. Right, that's got our 3 exhaust pieces to go on. So there's the collar on them. They're just got to go onto a 90-degree bend to start us off from the engine. They're all chamfered, so the next thing I'm going to do is weld them into there, but they're all a good tight fit, so that's fine. I can just weld them up. I might weld them a little proud, then pop them in the lathe and just face them off to make sure they have a nice face, flat face to go up against the ring gasket in the exhaust port. So let me weld them up and weld a 90-degree on, and then we can actually start fitting things to the bike. There's the first one done. Not completely finished, but I thought I'd just give it a quick sand and polish up. There was a weld there, and of course this was welded on, but I faced this off. So that's going to go in there like so. Like so. And I come across a slight problem. Nothing, not really a problem, just an annoyance. But I went to bolt these on, and you can see this is recessed. Well, the nut fits down into that, so the stud actually only comes up level with the top of that, so I couldn't just put a nut on. So we have a place, well, in Pennsylvania, which has a huge inventory of Yamaha stuff, and they had some of these special nuts, so I ordered 6 of them. So what we'll do is we'll start at the silencer end. Now I've tacked up another piece, but here we come to one of my pet peeves. So let's have a little rant. Quite nice silencer, seems to be quite nicely made, but nobody wants to make different sizes. You know, they're all the MBA people. Whoa, why make it good for the customer? Let's just make it for our bottom line. So they make the biggest size, and then they give you reducer sleeves. But with these reducer sleeves, it's supposed to go down in 3 steps to 1.5, which is what this is. But if I put the third one in there, I can't get 1.5 in. And if I only put the other 2 in, so It's either too big or too small. And in the silencer itself, there's only one slot around the back. So that doesn't clamp up very much. And because it's chromed, of course, I don't want to go cutting slots in or it'll just rust. So what I've just temporarily, I've just cut a little bit of shim stock to go in there, so this is all right. So pet peeve there. Right. So that will at least go in there and hold it about where we want it. Right. Now, here's where I would have liked to have been able to get a 60 degree, because we're almost right, but we're not vertical here for the straight piece. See, if I put a straight piece on there, it's sloping downwards. It wants to be up there. So what I'm going to do is cut these, or at least one of them, to bring that up a little bit. Now that's one of the nice things about mandrel bends, in that if you cut it in the right plane, then it's always 1.5 OD. So all I'm going to do is, I can't even remember how to do it, but I'm going to measure the angle I want here, and then I put a, where are we? Where's it gone? Then I put it on one of these, set that the angle I want, and you can find the line and mark it, supposedly. So anyway, let me give this a bit more looking at and try and decide how it's going to go, and then I'll come back. I've tacked the second curve on, and I've just changed the angle a little bit. So now, I've done it. Oh yeah, so now I'm going to put a straight piece on here. So as usual, I started without telling you people, but you put it on where you want it, and then just make a mark there, so that when I take this off, I can put the marks together and tack it, and then we'll try it. I've got to make up a different packing piece, because I've even got the clamp on there and it's still not holding it tight, but that's going to be about like that. So I might have to cut this a little bit when we bring this around, and I think I'll be able to bring the other pipe underneath here. So we'll see to make this packing at the other end better, so it'll actually clamp it up. That's a real pisser, that. Anyway, that's enough for today. Hey up everybody, welcome back. Now, if you're a little confused by that, it's because, as you've noticed, it's a while since the last video, and I actually haven't been doing anything out here, so it's over a week. So I just thought I'd say hello again. So what I'm going to do, before we do anything with the bike, is I'm going to take on a little walk around, so that you know I haven't just been sitting around while you've been waiting to see me again. Right, hold your hats, because we're going to go wobbly walk around. Well, the first thing is, if you listen, no rain. Why is there no rain, you ask? Because it's been snowing. Alright, so what have I been doing? Well, I've been doing this. I took a wall out, or at least I shortened the wall, and I moved some stuff around. What it was I built a little shed out the back, and I put so much stuff out there I didn't need the shelves. They used to be there, so I thought, oh, I can move that wall. It was one of those jobs where one thing led to another. I thought, I can move that wall to your left, because this is just sort of standing space, and give myself another couple of foot in the machine shop side. And once I decided that, I thought, well, I don't need a wall all the way up there, so I shortened the wall. So things have moved around a little bit. Oh, I've got my little red symbol for the battery. So that's what I've been up to. I got I'm going to show you something here. I got my Enfield stuff put away. It's interesting, not only does this make the place look bigger, but interestingly enough, it gives me a different viewpoint on the bike. You can see it from further away. It actually looks more like a bike. Alright, let's go over the bike and I'll tell you about what's going to happen today. Now, it's been a while, but you can remember we tacked together this piece to go in there. And there's a couple of problems here. It suddenly struck me that really stainless steel, for the most part, is stainless because of the chromium that's in it. And the chromium, when it oxidizes, is brittle and tends to crack, apart from looking nasty if it's on the outside. Well, with the TIG, of course, the inert gas, the argon, protects this side, but what you should do is you should have the back, the inside of the tube, filled with argon as well, what's known as backflush. So you sort of put a plug in this end with a little outlet, and you feed argon in here and fill this with argon and then weld. So to do that, of course, you either need another argon bottle with a regulator with a flow meter on it, or you can get regulators with 2 flow meters, one to feed the torch and one to feed the back purge. But it gets expensive, which, as you know, is anathema to me. So what I got was this stuff made by Harris, Solar Flux Type B. It's powder, and you mix it with methanol, and then you brush it on. As you put your 2 pieces of pipe together, you brush the insides, put it together and weld. Now, of course, I'm going to have to poke a brush in to get it onto these, but that forms a barrier on the back side to stop the stainless oxidizing. So I don't really think it'd be a big problem in this, but we'll do it anyway. Right, so that was one thing dealt with. The next thing, of course, as you remember, is these stupid reducers were either slack fit, or when I put the other one in I couldn't get this in. So I looked around a bit more and found that Schedule 40 stainless steel, it's 304, the same as the pipes, is 1.5 inch ID. So that fits on there nicely like that. And it's 1.9 OD. And I want 1.75. So I can turn this down and cut a couple of little pieces and weld them on here, and then we've got a good fit in there. So we'll do that. Interesting thing, well, not so much interesting as just an example of how it's well worth shopping round. My usual, I have a supplier, I think I mentioned the MasterCard, who have absolutely everything, and they do sell metal stock. So as soon as I was buying some nuts and bolts and stuff from them, which are really reasonably priced, stainless steel, I checked. A 1 foot piece of this was $70, whatever that is, 50 quid, something like that. When I went to the people I use normally for my metal, a company called Speedy Metals, it was only 30 something. I mean, how can you warrant that? Twice the price. Anyway, so that's done. The other thing that arrived has nothing to do with the exhaust. It's the K&N filter. Right. So I'll refresh your memory on this as well. You remember that when we put this in, it's got to sort of go in between the frame tubes and then come forward onto the carbs. But the top tube slopes. So I couldn't have anything, couldn't make it any taller or any longer because I wouldn't be able to get it in. But then I was measuring and thinking about it, and I looked on the K&N site and I found this, which I think is for an Audi, something like that. So what I'm going to do is, I'm sort of going to sandwich this in between 2 pieces of alloy plate. Complete piece for the top, and a piece with a hole in for the bottom. And that'll have a couple of mountings through it to hold it together. Probably put a little rim around top and bottom as well. So then, when that is in, I can just slip that in and screw it down. And that way, see, we're going to be able to cut some of this out, cut that back to there. That is going to be on like that. And it's K&N, it's a proper automotive filter, not the sort of lawnmower type one I had. The other thing is, this is 1.25 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches. It's twice the surface area of the green filter that goes in there. So that should be make a big difference to the breathing. I mean, it does everything good for me. It makes this hole a little bit bigger. It makes the total volume of the air box a little bit more. And it gives us, let's say, twice the filter area, or better filtering. So let's go and make these couple of things out of this, and then we'll come back and start doing some exhaust work. I'll put a piece on the end here, welded it on, so that will, that's a little clamp. Now that's a much better fit, although I'll be honest with you, these clamps are crap. Well, nuts, yeah, partly the clamp doesn't tighten up there, it tightens up the end. I've got to put a little piece in to make it to come up better, but in the meantime see, only having the one slot in here really does affect the way that this thing clamps up. If you're wondering why I'm doing it round this way, it's just easier for me to put that on there than fiddle around the back. See, that's really tight. Yeah, okay, that's it. So there we go. I've ground and sanded those welds a little bit, not finished off, but so the next thing we have to do is this front piece. Right, I'll put this piece in. Did I tell you I've got the special little nuts which were very nice? I'll show you them later on. So there's that's a 1.5 inch piece and a 90-degree welded up there. So what we need to do now is put a piece down there, like that, and a piece in there. So, I don't know whether to weld that piece in there or tack it anyway. I might just put a little, you know what I should do? Is turn up a little plug that I can put in there to hold these pieces like that. Little aluminium plug, that would do. And then just hold that while I mark them. Let me go and do that. Now, I made myself a little plug. And just before you comment, I'm not going to forget it and leave it in there. Well, famous last words again. So anyway, that goes in like that. Some of these are a little rough from the saw cut. Okay. That's about like that. Now then, what we need to know is what angle that is to that. Well, that's not exactly brilliant, but yeah. So this is one of these things where you can't make it too tight and you can't make it too loose, or it won't work either way. Where's me angly thing? Huh. Oh, there it is. Excuse me. Now, I was playing around just eyeballing this before you came. So let's see how close I was. Oh, hey, am I good or what? I say eyeballing it, I was just... So that's about it. So, how do you read this stupid thing? That's 125 degrees. Or 65 degrees the other way, I suppose. Right. So, we're going to cut this off. So 65 degrees, so a 90 degree bend is obviously too much, and a 45 degree bend isn't enough. Look, I was playing around with that one as well. 45 it's just out. So there is a way to do this. Let me get one I haven't drawn on. What you do is you put that in there. God. You put that in there and you mark where it touches. Right, so it's touching nicely there. So I'll mark it up here. Bit different. Hang on, I'll show you. But this strap's in the way, isn't it? So we can move it around until we're touching there, and we are touching there. So if we make our cut like that, then that angle in between those two should be the right one. So let me go and mark this, and again, because it's a mandrel bend and not squished or anything, when I cut that there, it's going to be 1.5 inch diameter again, so it should fit straight to that. So let me go and cut it and we'll see. Right, cut that bit, and there's the side I cut. So just to show you what I was saying, I don't know if you can see that, 1.5 inch OD. So that'll match up, bing bing, that'll match up perfectly with that. And that look goes on there. Good God, I think I got it right. So the next thing I want to do, I suppose, is to weld that on there. No, because it's got to come out here, hasn't it? So we're actually going to have to put a piece in there. So what we'll have to do is mark that, and I'll weld that on there, and then we can measure how big a piece we need in here. So how are we going to do that? I have to admit, people, that although I did make, I don't know if any of you have looked at the website where I built that Yamaha 650 into a 500. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, I have made the odd exhaust, but this is a little more technical, and it's stainless steel, so I don't want to mess it up. Although as with welding, I can always blob it up again and grind it off. But anyway, yeah, that's going to go out at the same height, isn't it? So that's going to be there. So let me go and cut that off, and then we'll see how much that bottom piece needs to be extended. Right, I've stuck the shortened piece up in there. Aha! so we couldn't just say it was at that height. We do have to go up a bit higher. Right, but I will say this much, they look as if they're both at the right angle, so let's see, we want to be a half a inch higher. So let's go and cut another ½ inch off. Keep your fingers crossed, people. Now let's see if we got it right this time. That's back up in there. Goes there. And that is fine. That's got a little bit of... Yep, and it's 1 5/8 there, and it's 1 5/8 there. So if we cut a little piece 1 5/8, it should go right in there. So let me go and do that. Now then, let's see if we're close. That needs tacking up, and then I think we'll be all right. So let me tack the short piece onto here first. No, I won't. I'll tack that piece on because it comes off easier. I'm back. I just thought I'd better tell you that I put a mark on so I know where to tack it. I've just had a thought. I was just checking this to make sure that went in there all right. And it struck me that that might be a good place to Siamese these two pipes. Something like a 45 degree in there would just be about right to go up to that other one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to weld this here and weld that there, and then see about doing the middle piece.